Moving on to the next speaker of today, I would like to introduce David Burns. David is currently the head of open source at BrowserStack and has built his experience in quality assurance for more than 15 years. Specializing in engineering leadership, editor of standard specifications, and master in Selenium. Author, blogger, speaker, and helping us on answering the question, can test automation solve A11y testing? David, welcome.
Oh, just to make sure, David, when you come in, make sure you're sharing the screen. That way our tech guy knows to bring you in to the stage. I'm very excited.
David, are you able to hear us?
Anyway, I'm quite excited for this. He works at BrowserStack on open source projects, so this is going to be a very good presentation to have.
I mean, automation itself. Oh, we see David.
There you are. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm excited to do this.
We're very excited to have you. This is a lot of great enthusiasm. Thank you.
Okay, just one technical question. Have you shared your screen?
Yes.
I think I have.
Yes, you have. Our tech guy has given us a thumbs up from behind the camera, so we know it's all ready to go.
Then the stage is yours.
Yeah, you can crack on.
Lovely. Hi, everyone. So today I'm going to try answer the question, can test automation solve accessibility testing? So just a kind of a quick overview of who I am is I chair the W3C Browser Testing and Tools Working Group. I'm a Selenium committer, author, and now these days I head up developer relations and open source at BrowserStack, which is a kind of development first company allowing people to be able to test their applications on the web or on mobile phones, and kind of a number of items that go around that. Sorry. So today I've kind of kept the agenda rather light in that where I think we need to be, can technology fool us or can it help us? I think those are the three items that I hope by the end of today's talk, you should have a good understanding, or at least like see how I interpret the world. To me, where do we need to be? So I spent nearly 9.5 years working at Mozilla, and the main reason that I kind of did that was that I truly believed that the web was one of the greatest feats of humanity. And to me, why should we limit it to only those who can see or kind of find it easy to access? And we should need to fix some of the problems that are out there. And there are a number of amazing people who are trying to do that. And so that, to me, we need to keep the web one of the greatest feats of humanity. And humanity tends to be quite good at trying to fix some of these things. So I'm pretty sure a number of speakers today and kind of over the last many months and for the many months to come, have been talking about the new laws that are being passed in the EU and kind of how every company is going to have to do that. While that's really great, the EU is not the only region, that does all these things. And some of these have been put into place for many years, and there are like groups that are trying to drive that forward. One of the main ones that we all know and love is WCAG, and how they have been driving some of the recommendations, right? And unfortunately, a lot of these things are recommendations and can easily be fooled, which is rather disappointing, because companies will always try to do their bare minimum when it comes to kind of the law, and then try to get everything into place. But the main thing is that over time, we are seeing more and more people able to access the web, mobile devices, and do amazing things with it. But as I said, there are a number of people, and this is one of my favorites. I know it's quite old now, in that it happened 5 years ago, and a lot of things have changed. But I remember reading it when I was at Mozilla and laughing, because it was one of those things where, like, if you could trick any system into thinking it was doing the right thing. And so in this case, it gave the best performance, best accessibility, followed all the rules, but they were easily tricked. And since everyone at that time was doing the bare minimum, they would use something like Lighthouse within Google Chrome, or other tools that were out there. And a number of companies were always trying to fix it. But as things kind of progressed, as with everything, it was always gamified. To me, this is, if you've kind of worked in development for a long time and you hear an executive come down and go, we need to improve the code coverage, you know that that's not necessarily the best metric, because again, it can be gamified and it doesn't actually improve the quality, because it's just kind of seeing numbers on a board go up. And so how do these tools generally work? Well, in terms of like Axe Core and all of them, firstly, it's parsing the HTML, just checking that everything is in place, parsing some CSS, applying heuristics, and then we get this situation where we've got, in this case, I found this picture while kind of going through Reddit of this accessible set of stairs made for wheelchairs. I'm sure we've all seen some of these things out there, made us laugh, made us cry, made us cringe. But the key thing is that when we look at it, just because something says it's accessible doesn't necessarily mean that it is. And so the nice thing that we see from kind of the space is the heuristics are constantly changing. And we start to apply new tooling to see if something is generally good. And while I was going through this, I found an example of a visually impaired aid on a cruise network. And in the background, there were waves as the background image, which meant that the text was very hard to read. Again, like I put it through some of the heuristics, and again, it was like, yeah, it's fine. Again, it comes down to what is the minimum that people can do. And people will do that minimum. So in this case, someone said that this is accessible, therefore it must be, even though it probably isn't. But I'm sure some of you are saying, David, you're being incredibly unfair. And I probably am, because the way I look at accessibility is that we should be looking at decreasing the delta between the minimum viable product that we can deliver to our people, to our customers, and to our users in terms of accessibility, and maximum valuable product. The smaller the delta there, the better that it is for everyone. Again, to me, this is, are we improving humanity? That is the thing that, like, we've always been kind of taught, is that each generation should make sure that the next generation's lives are easier, better, and things like that. And so while I am being unfair, it is not against the people, not against the technologies, but kind of against the process. And the main reason is that when we look at the tools, I think applying one tool and then going, which is the bare minimum. Excuse me. This is the bare minimum. Should we say that this is accessible enough? So in this case, I quickly knocked up a quick example on kind of JSBin of something that has the tab index out of order. Now, this one's really hard. So for those who kind of like try to apply heuristics across a DOM, is that just because an element looks like it's at a position on the page doesn't necessarily mean it is in that part of the DOM tree into the terms of web. So I come from, as I've said, I worked at Mozilla for like 9.5 years. I have a lot of focus in the work that I do, especially with Selenium, around browsers. And so I have a great understanding of how the DOM works and things like this. And so in this case, I applied kind of accessibility testing to this really simple page that I created. You can see some of the things that I didn't do properly, like I didn't create the keyboard or text labels. I didn't apply the labels properly. Again, I'm what I would consider myself more of a back-end engineer than a front-end engineer, because it's around driving something, not necessarily making something look good or improving the user experience. My level of user experience is around command line tools. And so in this case, you can kind of see the basic mistakes that I've done, which I think everyone does. But in this case, there's no way of applying heuristics to figure out if the tab index is out of order. And the thing that I also noticed is I'd only put kind of these 12 elements, so 6 labels and 6 inputs. But when I opened up Firefox's accessibility tool in the DevTools, there was a 7th tab index that I didn't realize. Now, historically, what some people have done, the first person that I know did it, doesn't necessarily mean they were the first person, but the first person I knew who did this was Julian Harty. He worked at Google in 2010. I was doing a lot of work with Simon Stewart at that time on WebDriver. Simon Stewart is the creator of WebDriver. And he was using WebDriver to do accessibility testing at the time. And in this case, could I navigate google.com search results within a certain amount of tabs? And I needed, and his example was he needed to kind of think of, the number's probably wrong, but the way I remember it is that he needed to be able to tab from the first element that he could find all the way around and back to that element within, say, 30 presses of the tab. And each time they would apply, was the accessibility details in the DOM correct or not? Was it useful or not? Again, that was just a basic test, again, and not one that could do full accessibility test. And so in this case, to me, is we need to apply our kind of thinking around the testing pyramid. In this case, it's more around like test certain bits, which are quick and fast, and then we move to slower and slower items. And in this case, if I were able to do kind of tabbing through this, I wouldn't see it through automation, but I could visually see it when I notice that the tab index is out of order. Excuse me. And one would hope that we would have this solved by kind of QA or just by someone checking things, but this is not necessarily the case. And then we have other ways that are kind of slowly but surely coming up. One project that is kind of incubating within my W3C working group is what's called the AT driver, which is assisted technology driver, and it's based off kind of the same concepts of WebDriver, but to drive screen reading. Because while it's easy from kind of me to be able to use a keyboard, not everyone can use a keyboard. And then with screen readers, not everyone, as I'm sure you all know, and is that you need to be able to kind of get the relevant information back. But if I know from kind of working on browsers that screen readers are never going to give the same results depending on the operating system. And then it's a bit better thanks to the work of the W3C and WCAG and the ARIA working group. Browsers are better at kind of showing that information, but they don't necessarily always show it in the same light. And this tool, which is now kind of being standardized against WebDriver, is the ability to kind of push this further and further through screen readers and stuff like that. And then the other way is, and so kind of this is just an example of browser, like that idea of BrowserStack, is that if I go back to the WebDriver example with the tab indexes, is that you can do kind of your normal testing, but sometimes you need to offload your testing onto another service to be able to get some better results. So historically, front-end people would do their testing and then need to make sure that it looks the same in different operating systems and different browsers. And they would send it off to a visual testing service or visual regression testing service. What is the kind of the new norm is that you can go from a page something like this, which then during its process, like every time you navigate to a new page, it sends over some of the details to another page, another subsystem at BrowserStack, where in this case, we kind of apply some of the heuristics to the page and then try to figure out what is critical, what is not, and so on. So this is a demo page. I think it was being, it's not on that screen, but I think it was just running it against like one of the major sites that are out there, mostly not to kind of tell them that they're doing it wrong, but like so that we can see when we apply the same heuristics, are they getting the same results and things like that. So this is a new product that's coming out of BrowserStack, but it's still coming. But the idea is here that we take some of the key elements of different forms of testing, and we can't just say that one is going to be good enough. Automation is necessary because we need to, as a kind of industry, we're always told that we need to be moving as fast as possible. Not going to repeat like what Facebook suggests, move fast and break things. That is not necessarily what we should be doing, but we should be moving fast and kind of making meaningful changes along the way so that we can improve how people use our products, people use the web, and people learn and share information as we go through kind of everything. And I think I've hit my 20 minutes. So thank you. I hope you found that quite useful. As I said, like, don't try to do automation all in one hit. I think you need to be applying accessibility testing at multiple layers, at multiple levels, and trying to solve each and every bit as you go through. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. I think an analogy, just to add on to what you there, one of our previous speakers called it a bit like a cake, in that are multiple layers, and it's better to get those right the first time than try and fix one after you've finished all of the baking and had it out there.
Oh yeah, I use more the concept, like, and maybe this is because I really like Shrek. It's more like onions, right? But it's to me, it's like, have you ever cut into an onion and the outside looks okay, and then you get to the center and it's all rotten,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
right? And so to me, that's why I kind of prefer onion, where you think, yeah, I'm doing okay, and then you like get further and further in, you're like, oh my gosh, what have I done wrong?
Yeah, yeah, good. Another analogy that is less cake.
Yeah. I mean, afterwards we can do a summary of all the analogies
the
we have
food
gathered
analogies,
during
yeah.
the day.
But that was outstanding. Thank you for that, and also bringing us up to date on some of the developments of what is in the works, in what's available and will be available in the future. So that's wonderful for our guests today. If you're ready, we'll head into those questions now that we have lined up.
Yeah, sure.
Wonderful. So kicking it off, from a personal point of view, considering your long experience, what was the turning point when you decided to work more with accessibility?
I think it was like at university, I kind of got very much into open source. And so I'm kind of the older generation. So I was in university at the beginning of 2000. And so open source was this like real idea of like improving things constantly. Right. And so I fully believed in it. And then I got to the idea of actually the web is really awesome. And then from there, I went through all the different stages because like I studied industrial psychology and computer science at university. And so to me, like the way the human mind works with computers has always incredibly fascinated me. I think it's amazing, which is why I think I got so stuck into Selenium, because there was always this idea of, could I train a computer to act like a human, right? Like to do proper clicks, to do this, to do that. Which has been daunting, but exciting at the same time. And kind of accessibility is just an avenue off there, right? Because like you need to be able to do these things as a person, and obviously we need to be moving faster, but sometimes it's just hard. And so kind of I try and make things easier for people with the work that I do, especially in the open source space. I've been incredibly fortunate to have been paid to work on open source for like the last 15 years of my career. And the idea has always been to kind of try improve things, or like with the W3C, help others, help people, right? So kind of if I can facilitate all of that stuff moving forward, and which is why kind of we've got the AT driver within my working group now, and that's been driven a lot by a group called Baku. They're based in the east coast of the US, but they're working with screen reader companies. And so for me, I can't always help with the accessibility, but I can facilitate others being able to get where they need to. And that's why I still do it.
Oh, that's good. There's a grand facilitator.
I think that's very fortunate that a person can find actually his career that you're so passionate about it. You can be very happy about
And
it.
you're able to help in so many different ways on so many different things.
Yeah, well, I try.
All right, David. And from your personal perspective, do you think that bigger companies have more accessible designs, or is it the other way around?
I'm going to give the kind of the boring answer, which is it depends. What I tend to find with a lot of these things is if you can start from scratch, everything kind of works out better. If you're having to iterate and improve and things like that, that goes slower. So some of the bigger companies might take a lot longer to get to certain things, where smaller companies can move really fast and go, actually, we need to fix this now because it can help us with sales or whatever. So I don't think there's a good answer on that one. I just think kind of the bigger companies, if they can move faster, so kind of like Amazon's and sometimes can move faster than say an eBay in the way they kind of structure the company. And a lot of that's out in the public domain, where like sometimes eBay is just like this big enterprise company, where Amazon, like they've always said, well, we need to have small teams so we can iterate faster.
Okay.
So it's a hard one. But,
but bigger companies have more resources. However, they have bigger platforms. But smaller companies have less resources.
It's a lot down to the structuring of it all.
But I agree. This is a tricky question.
I guess another more personal one, as we've mentioned, you are an avid content producer, writer, speaker. So what are the things that do spark your inspiration when you do write these blogs, articles, and speeches?
To me, it's how can I help others learn, right? Like, so a lot of my blog posts are kind of, I've either helped a customer or I've been on kind of Discord or Slack in a community helping people. And it's like, actually, I can help you, but if I kind of spread my knowledge, and sometimes it's just like I write for, like on my blog, personally, I write for myself. Like if no one read it, it's fine, right? Because there's sometimes where I think it's good to just get it out there. But a lot of like the inspiration is like, I saw that problem, that person's having it. Here's how I would solve it and put it out. And then if it helps one person, then I think I've been successful.
Okay.
Good answer.
Yeah, good answer. We accept it. So, David, often the career growth comes from the personality. I believe so. So, what main characteristics of yours helped you to end up in a lead position?
So I think kind of the way I kind of mentor people at the moment is that like there are, as we all know, there are two clear tracks in a company. You can either go into management or you can go down an IC route. The one thing that I think is important in both of those cases is how much you feel you want to interact with kind of humans at a kind of very personal level, right? Like a good engineering manager has great rapport and will like make sure that people are successful, where a good team lead, principal engineer, whatever, they will always care that like the people are being productive, right? And so it's always important to care about the person. At the end of the day, I think kind of engineering managers and principal engineers write about the same amount of code. I know a lot of people will disagree with me on that one, but from my personal experience, like I think they write about the same amount of code. But to me, it's how much do you want to have to interact with humans on a like scale, and then go from there. Like, do you want to, let's say, show people, and then how willing are you to have some difficult conversations? Like, I'm not expecting a principal engineer to have a difficult conversation with a person saying you're not performing. And those difficult conversations are not for everyone. And you know, I'm sure we've all had bad managers in our career, right? Where we're like, yeah, I think you should have stayed on the IC track because your people skills are not necessarily there, but your heart's in the right place. So it's one of those. I think I've just been fortunate that like I like speaking to people. I like to waffle, as it's probably coming across at the moment. But at the end of the day, like I just want people to be successful, and I think that's why I've been quite good at my career. Is that like I've managed to build up a good network of people where I've helped them, and then in the future when I reach out to them, I know that they'll be able to they'll be willing to help me, because like while I've been harsh sometimes, hopefully I've always been fair.
Yeah, I believe that communication is a huge part of leading people, and if you are an introvert, that might actually take some more energy out of you, but if you are an extrovert, for example, it could be a bit easier.
And I can say, rest assured, you're probably not the only Briton in the world who likes to waffle on about things. And I guess it's in a very succinct way, is there any one major challenge that you've seen over your career that at the end of the day you thought actually helped you grow?
Not necessarily in my career. Like I was very much into sports when I was growing up, and the thing that like my school was very sporty, and they were like, okay, because you've got to the top level of like in the later years, we're organizing sports psychologists. We'll get you, so you get to think about problems in a different way. And I think the thing that really stuck with me was the coaches and the sports psychologists were like, control what you can, and what you can't control, figure out what part of that is in the future controllable. If not, ignore it, right? So control what you can, and then try just brace for whatever else is coming, and then go from there.
A solid maxim.
So it's something that's always stuck with me, and like my wife always goes, "Well, you never get stressed," and it's like, well, I can't control everything, so like let's just go with it.
Was to live by. Well, I believe that is all the time we have for today, unfortunately. But it's been a pleasure having you here. Thank you for being part of QualityForge, and I guess on that note, goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.